All right. Love and light, everyone. My name is Reverend Antonio Dixon, and I'm here today with one of my students, Kami Styles. She is here, and I am here to talk about faith healing and or channeled healing and or spiritual healing, whatever your idea of the healing bracket is. Now, most people, when they think about this, don't really have too much of an idea what's going on. And well, it's fairly for a good reason. Like the biggest issue that most people have when it comes to things like this is with control and or letting go of control. When you give your spirit completely and utterly to the emanation of source you may choose, that is to say to the spirit stays, anything, several things happen. First off, you become enlightened to a power greater than yourself. This is very frightening for a lot of people. After this, you will begin to become enriched with so much knowledge that you may begin to lose sight of what is yours legitimately and what may belong to something else. In truth, all of it is yours. Your birthright as a being who has been born of spirit, source's emanation, God's child, for all intents and purposes. To think of it in terms of creation, though, is a bit haphazard. Creation implies that the energy never existed in the first place. An emanation is simply an aspect of the whole. Like a seed that grows into a plant, the seed was not created, it was simply called into a different form than the whole. So we begin the path of understanding this knowledge. And in this pursuit, we're granted even more until eventually it becomes another form all of its own. A voice, a feeling, or a sensation, any of those things are quite common to experience when it comes to this form of healing or this form of work. When we consciously call upon said force to act upon ourselves or others on our behalf, we are channeling. That is the whole of channeling right there. When you consciously call upon another force, a force greater than yourself, another force in general, however you want to define it, you are calling upon something to act upon either yourself or others on your behalf. That's it. So what's channeling to you? Let's ask Kami.
Well, channeling to me is anytime that you are receiving information that's not your own from spirit, whether it be, well, any kind of spirit, but that's what I would consider channeling to be.
Okay, right. Channeling comes much like its literal definition, the joining of something outside of the original source. The choice then becomes what to do with the channel. In terms of healing, we utilize this essence or key, whatever you may choose, whatever source you may choose, to join and channel from. The process is rather simple, however, the implications are very complex. So before we get any further, I want to add a disclaimer here. It's very important to always trust in your intuition, your guide, your wiles, your gut wisdom, however you may call it, when it comes to contacting or connecting with any form of entity or source, because, well, some things can be very deceptive. You may hear that something's totally worthwhile, something's totally amazing. You may feel this grandiose sense of self where you are more or less just coped with so many feelings at once that you may feel this experience to be legitimate. Well, always, always, always exercise caution when doing so, by doing due diligence to understand exactly what you're working with. Too commonly, most people will just end up trying it out, getting a good feel, going with the flow, and then next thing you know, they have an entity, an attachment, or a blockage. And most commonly, I see that it's more an entity or an attachment than it is a blockage. You kind of get the short end of the stick or the light end of the stick, however you want to call it, when it's just a blockage. But chances are you end up with an attachment and it just won't be a very great time for you. So please, please, please exercise caution before continuing with any of these techniques that I'm about to mention. Protective measures are vital in the best facilitation of these types of connections. If you're unsure of how to provide protection for yourself, your space, your client, what have you, then please either contact me or do your own research and practice prior to attempting this technique. If you're in doubt, attune and connect with the earth. Totally great. So, how to channel? First, I want to say that when you begin to channel, you start to resonate with a source. It could literally be anything imaginable. If you think it and allow for this energy to resonate with you, then you have established a connection. Really get a good feel for that connection and do your best to understand its nature. This part is very vital. Reference disclaimer. Next, you're going to want to establish a rapport or connection with the source of your choosing by either directing your will or intention to do so energetically, mentally, or vocally. Perhaps an offering of energy may be necessary to best facilitate this connection. If it's an entity, intention if it's a pure source. Whatever the source may be, establishing a connection is also critically important. Much like running on a slow internet connection, if you're unable to transfer any information or data back and forth at a good enough rate, then basically your chances of maintaining that connection are pretty slim. With practice, it gets a lot easier and simpler. A word of warning though, assure yourself 100%, once again, that you can always trust in this connection and the data the source is providing. An unstable or imperfect connection could prove hazardous not only to yourself, but those around you as well. Always ask yourself and the source you choose to work with thrice-fold, 3 times, if they are of light and connect in perfect love and trust. If they cannot answer positively or affirmatively either of these questions, then close the connection, close the gates, shut it down, and walk away. Ground center, try again another day. Because if you continue to try, chances are you may just pick up the same guy from a different phone line. If you suppose this to be uncertain, disregard to this source and any of its emanations, any part of it. Like I said, you might end up calling back the same guy from a different line. Only harm can come of a connection that's not forged of mutual understanding and agreement in love, light, and trust. It may not happen right away. And this is the thing that gets a lot of people as well. It may not happen right away, but time has proven this to be accurate no matter the case. Once you've established a connection, you may find yourself experiencing things that appear outside of yourself. If you can, hold form with the source. That is to say, communicate with the source, talk to it. You may end up having a full-on conversation. You may just ask how its day was. Who knows? But the key is to continuously connect and reconnect with this source. Engage with it. This way you can assure yourself indubitably that it is indeed of the light, it is connected with you in perfect love and perfect trust, and that no matter what happens from that point on, it's not going to hurt you or anyone you care about. Until you can trust the connection is strong enough to proceed with your working. It's suggested that you maintain your own mind during this process, no matter the source. That is to say that if you're channeling the earth, it is not a good idea to resonate completely with Gaia. It is not a great idea to resonate completely, for instance, with the sun. You might end up with a really hot flash. Get it? Really hot flash. In any case, if an entity requests to act on your behalf, humbly decline until you are prepared to deal with the energy, until you're more familiar with the energy. Should the connection be true, you'll have no need to worry about reconnecting with anything but intent. That is to say, when you connect with the source, you build rapport with it, you are totally assured that it's of love and light, and you connect in perfect love and perfect trust, nothing to worry about, you have that connection in your pocket. Same thing goes with any other type of connection that you happen to make. So once again, very careful. The source will always know how to best connect with you, and if rapport is there, then so is the connection. Simply remember the feelings or energy associated with this source. After interacting with the source of your choosing, simply bid them farewell in a kind and loving manner and ground in the best way you know how. Maintain your protection unless you are 100% certain that the space you held is safe for you to leave. Other than that, have fun. Now, I don't think this sounded very confusing, but in case it did, let's go to Kami. What did you think about that particular technique? Have you experienced anything similar?
Well, I have, yeah, I have. I've, definitely channeled spirit for people that were looking to connect with lost loved ones. And that is a very basic rule of thumb. Anytime you're connecting to someone in spirit, because you don't see who you're talking to, you do want to make sure that they are of the light. And you do have to protect yourself. Anytime you connect to um, something in spirit, you do have to go into it with caution, just like you wouldn't go and talk to a stranger on the street. You have to protect yourself in the same way.
Exactly.
So,
Like,
absolutely.
yeah,
There's there's rules to it, and you don't want to go into it just without without caution. So definitely, and I think that your explanation of it was understandable, even for people that are just starting out and just learning. I think it was pretty easy to understand what you were saying, and very, very good advice.
okay, great. Like, one easy way to break this down is like a Ouija board. A lot of people love to mess with the Ouija board, but very few actually understand how it works, why it works, and who you're contacting, most important. So I'm gonna hammer that in again. Be careful. Know your source. Not just grand source, God, but I'm talking about, well, grand source, God, however you want to define it. Um, Not just them, like anyone, anything. You're not just gonna go up to a stranger on the street and ask them about your life. Like, hey, random guy, what do you think about this? Do you think I should go do this job? Do you think I should take this new job opportunity? Do you think I should invest into this new firm? Uh, let's go even further than that. Let's go even basic than that. Does this guy like me? Does this girl like me? What should I do? I don't know what to do. Can you help me? Are you smart? Can you protect me? These are all like questions, and I know it sounds stupid, but like seriously, be careful because anyone can say anything. If you go up to a stranger on the street and you ask these questions, you're not sure what you're going to get. Just the same as interacting with a source. You don't want to haphazardly interact with a source that could possibly inflict harm upon you or those who you care about. It's fairly simple, but hey, do what you got to do, right? In any case, I want to thank all of you for watching this. Plan on making a lot more of these in the future. And before I get off of here, I do want to thank Kami for coming out and hanging out, enjoying the feed with me, and answering some of my hardball questions. But in any case, if you have any questions aside from what we've covered, please feel free leave some comments if this is on YouTube. If you're listening to this from Spreaker Radio, then please feel free to message me privately. In case you don't have any way to necessarily message me, or you're just proactive enough to already have an email browser up and ready for my email, that's contact@reikireverend.com. Speaking of, if you have any need for spiritual services or guidance, like coaching, please feel free to hit me up on Etsy. That's Etsy at Reiki Reverend at Etsy, or etsy.com/shop/Reiki Reverend. In any case, love and light, and I hope you all have a very, very wonderful night.